And we are live. Welcome back, everyone. So this is the third talk of today, and we will have Piotr after this talk. So if you will stick around for another hour, we will have the promised talk with Piotr Migdal on quantum game. But now we are with Lars, and he is the guy who has been developing his game for the last 3 years, but also he's a PhD candidate at UK in theoretical physics, but he comes from computer science. And I think this game will give you some ideas on what kind of a puzzle game can be created with this kind of not big but considerable budget, may I say. And it's a really good game, and it is just its first version is out for 3 or 4 days now, and it is really being received well by the community. And without further uh, chit chat, I will leave Laura to introduce you to this wonderful game and take you to this Quantum Odyssey.
Thank you very much, Zeki. Hi, guys. Oh boy, yeah. So Zeki said I'm making the game, but actually we are now a proper indie studio. It's not just me making the game. We have 5 people involved, almost on a full-time basis, and 4 PhDs who are helping with the content, curating the content, and making sure that everything that's in the game is actually scientifically valid from any point of view. So you won't find anything in the game. And if you do, please let me know. Anything that has, well, it's arguably an uncertain element about it or something like that. The game is called Quantum Odyssey, and what we called it this way because we wanted to go a bit further than having a game that teaches people quantum computing. At the core of the game is also a patented way of visualizing the properties of all Hamiltonians that you could do on a universal quantum computing model. So the gate model framework. So absolutely anything you could do using a universal quantum computer up to 5 qubits, you can do in the game. So it's not just a puzzle game in a sense, and this is where we're struggling actually, because if you're a puzzle player, you'll understand there's a ton more in this game than just solving puzzles. That could be fun, but there is so much content. There is such a huge encyclopedia, which is constantly expanded. There are over 240 puzzles which were crafted by PhDs with a lot of experience who have created really solid quantum computing work, published authors, and professors in education who have made sure that we don't go too crazy in creating content. That we keep a proper graduate learning feel in the game. So as you learn the game, you learn the rules to solve these puzzles. And it turns out exactly these rules behind the puzzles are the rules of quantum computation, universal quantum computation. So if you want to get the game, it is quite simple now. It's still in early access, which means very important would be to, if you get the game, if you download it, and if you play it and if you like it, about a big part of the puzzle of the game is for $25. We have to put a price on it, which is a fair price considering the effort that has been into and considering the fact that we want to develop it for the many years to come. So this is by no means final, but it is in a sense final when it comes, if you want to learn quantum computing, and quite a few people have said it already, this might be one of the best resources currently available in the market. To get the game, it's really simple. You download Quantum Odyssey. It gets a launcher gets installed on your computer, where we will also publish news and we'll keep in touch with you. You can sign in with any account you have and then just hit play, and the Odyssey starts literally. Before we actually show you the game, I want to show you some of the work that has been put into creating the notion of quantum literacy, because we also published the idea that we need a world that's quantum literate. We need a world in which quantum logic, the fundamental logic of the universe, is no longer can be called to be counterintuitive. We aspire to create a world in which the understanding of the fundamental logic of the universe literally becomes common logic, becomes something that's an everyday thing. And even the logo can show you that. I'll get into that maybe later. It's not that counterintuitive, if you can see it. Yeah, the problem is the logic we have created so far, what we've used in our computers, the vocabulary we have created, the idea of saying Schrodinger's cat and calling that superposition, stuff like that from popular science, doesn't really do justice when it comes to what quantum computation actually is, what quantum logic is, and so on. And I heard it said that entanglement and superposition is the most impressive thing in quantum computation. In my opinion, that is, well, I would say actually quantum interference is the most impressive thing quantum computers can do. And that's something that you will, for the first time, perhaps in a video game format, you can observe with your own eyes. You can see what happens in a quantum Grover search algorithm. You can actually visualize interference from happening. You can tweak it, you can adjust, and you can maybe find even a better way you can construct a Grover search algorithm. So our website is completely custom. It discusses really hard on the idea of teaching this new way of thinking. A really nice quote from Richard Fuller before I get into it is, if we want to teach a new way of thinking, let's not bother trying to teach this new way of thinking. Let's just give a tool, and the use of which, by just experimenting with it, by playing with it, by solving the puzzles through it, hopefully will lead to a new way of thinking. So this is what we are trying to do with Quantum Odyssey. So without any further ado, I will just jump straight into our game trailer. And let me know, Zeki, if the sound isn't coming clear. So it asks the idea of what is quantum literacy and how do we teach it. The sound will not start right now. We'll start a bit later.
Since the birth of humanity, our ancestors who survived and thrived were the discoverers, the adventurers. They had problems to solve and plans to lay out, and as a result, stories to tell. The more effective they were at tackling nature's challenges, the bigger their stories became. Specialist tools had to be made to harness the power of their stories, ideas and reasoning. They could not afford to lose them with time. They kept them safe. But too often, valuable information became accessible only to a select few. Yet with enough common stories and understanding, civilizations were born. Leaders and societies who thrived expanded their knowledge. Information literacy, as a result of sharing this knowledge, was key to their longevity, whilst ignoring or hoarding it out of ignorance, fear and hatred was the beginning of their downfall.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that gold will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
Although we've reached a new age, the age of information, where more people on Earth have access to more information than ever before, what's holding us back from solving these problems? Our old ways of accessing and processing information brought us solutions because the passing of time allowed it, whether we were aware of it or not.
I want to take a quick pause here. What you're seeing is called the glued search tree problem. So this is an actual representation of how it would be to solve a glued trees problem using classical computing. And soon you will see how it will look like doing it on a quantum computer.
We may not have time on our side anymore because of the pressing nature of our problems, but we may have found a most powerful ally, a new way of reasoning. So powerful that we are convinced it is the very logic behind the fabric of our universe. We named it quantum computing. However, the tremendous potential of this tool is not enough if we cannot even begin to grasp it as a society. With this in mind, at Quartz Interactive, our mission is to make learning quantum computing come as easily and naturally as having a good time, and with that, introduce quantum literacy to every single human being. Therefore, we've made Quantum Odyssey, the first video game to make quantum computation fun and accessible to people of all ages, no matter their background. With Quantum Odyssey, the idea of applying quantum reasoning becomes simply a matter of understanding and solving visual puzzles. Play your way through quantum computing, explore carefully crafted learning modules that will open the doors to this new way of reasoning, browse through an interactive encyclopedia filled with all the quantum knowledge you'll need. And to top it all, no maths required ever. Be part of the quantum literacy revolution. See you in Quantum Odyssey.
Yeah, so this is the trailer we have made. This trailer is more towards our first paper we wrote together with educationalists to push the idea forward for a quantum literate society, a society that takes quantum computing and the logic behind quantum as a normal logic and understands that, well, there are some differences, some discrepancies between how we understand today processing information, how we do our normal logic today, and what actually the universe does. And the idea is, let's learn those rules. Let's all of us at least become familiar with those rules, from managers, from decision makers, to pupils, to kids, to 12-year-olds. And this is the mission of the company, to achieve quantum literacy. Would be very nice, guys, if you could actually join our Discord. If you want to talk about Quantum Odyssey, if you want to talk about the status of quantum computation today, this is a place we are trying to incubate, to make it grow. And here is where we will try to create further content, refine the existing content, and hopefully create a little place where, as you saw, it's has the right art, it has the right music, the feel, the vibe, and the people to create a growing community for quantum computation. And you don't have to have a STEM background. So there was this funny 3 words showing up on the screen, said no maths required. It is actually true. So that's one of those things I was struggling very hard with. So I spent about a year in front of a whiteboard trying to ensure that there is absolutely nothing that could be possible in universal quantum computing that cannot be done in the game. So it is a full representation of absolutely any kind of math you could run on 5 qubits. You can also see it purely visual without having to understand even complex numbers. So complex numbers are encoded, amplitudes, phases, you can see even phase kickback. You can do everything you could normally do on a quantum computer. We can even simulate noise. That's a feature we'll also be implementing soon. So let's jump straight into the game, and I really hope the volume of the game is on the right level. Zeki, is the music and the sound is barely hearable, I hope, and it's not very loud.
I think we can hear it, and it's not disturbing. By the way, I just love your logo. I mean, the 3 polarizers. It's a brilliant thing.
I know. We will try through APS.org, through American Physical Society, to actually distribute maybe 3 lenses to kindergartens, to actually schools, maybe not kindergartens, sorry for that. And have kids in schools, maybe 12-year-olds, put 2 logos, 2 polarized lenses on 90 degrees and see that no light passes through. And then just add the 3rd in the middle. And they will see that when the light passes 3 lenses, light goes through. But when it has just 2 lenses, there is no light passing through. And that itself, it's called the quantum Venn paradox. And I love it. I literally love it. And as I said, that kind of feels into our mission. We want to bring quantum into the lives of people, literally. If you're a kindergarten kid, you can actually show it to a friend. You can show how weird the universe is using 3, maybe €1 cost in total little thing. Yeah, you can show to anybody and ask them why do you think light behaves the way it does? What is behind that? So ask these questions as the younger the people are. If they ask these questions, I just wonder what kind of society would be living in in the future to come. Yeah, if things like this become popular.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a very simple thing that you can show, and it is a true quantum phenomena.
Yeah. We tested the game in schools. So in British schools, we went, and I had, of course, we separated in groups. We had kids from 12 to 18-year-olds. They played with the game. A group of 12-year-olds actually managed to finish all the puzzles I had. And that was really shocking because I did not intend that those puzzles can actually be solved. Their professors couldn't solve them, but their pupils solved all the puzzles. And the professors got stuck on like puzzle 12 out of 25. So it was really fascinating to see the young generation being so good at visual learning, having this acquired taste, maybe because they grew up with a phone, they grew up watching things. So maybe this is the right way to try to convey information that is reachable to them. Okay, I'm talking too much, so let me hit play. We have 3 chapters. The first one goes into the fundamental laws. So by the end of this chapter, there is no way you would not know what a qubit is. And I'm sorry to say, but I did not follow the way literature teaches what a qubit is. I find it inadequate. I find it incomplete. I read Nielsen. I read quite a lot, and there's always something lacking there about how a qubit works. So what do we do in the first chapter? Literally teaching all the laws of quantum computation and making sure that you do not need the next gate to flip a bit. Yeah. So when QLogic showed that beautiful algorithm with having a 1 qubit and turning it, flipping it, they put an HZH. We showed this very deeply into the extreme, actually. I think this module is like 3 hours long, to be honest, if you have some background. So if you don't have any background, I think, yeah, it could be a bit more than that.
We will now go beyond the workings of quantum.
So, yeah, discussing quantum logic. And for those of you who understand the block sphere, who understand the concept of seeing a qubit on a sphere, that is somewhat incomplete. And imagine doing Hadamard. So imagine putting a H gate. Yeah, you would normally think a H gate does nothing more than takes from the 0 and flips it in the middle, in the Z basis. If this is our measurement basis on a quantum computer, on a qubit, doesn't matter if it's an ion or whatever. But it's not true. H gate actually does a 3-step rotation, a 90-degree rotation here, then a 90-degree here, and a 90-degree here. So you end up actually after a H gate, you might argue that you are in a superposition state, but that is incomplete. Just saying that is incomplete. Saying that the moment we use a Hadamard gate, the moment we put a Schrodinger's cat on a quantum qubit, you are in a superposition. That is perhaps incomplete, at least in my opinion, and I haven't seen this properly documented anywhere. What happens the moment you do the H operation? You end up in the 0 state in the X basis. So if you were to not have a measurement basis, but somehow be able to prepare a qubit, place a H gate, on a measurement basis you have defined, and you already know there is a secondary measurement basis, but you do not measure, you might still obtain a fully deterministic result. So imagine you put a qubit in a superposition, you know you have to measure it in the x basis. The moment you achieve the measurement in the x basis, you always get 0. You don't get 0 and 1. You always get 0 after a H gate. Yeah, but as you can see here, if you do measure in the Z basis, you get two balls. You get both 0 and 1 at the same time. And yeah, stuff like that is really, I think it gives it justice. I think it takes it from the level of just, oh yeah, that's a H gate, oh, we are in superposition, to a level of, right, what is superposition actually? What is a qubit? How deep is the rabbit hole of a qubit? How can you construct it? What does it mean once you construct a qubit?
The best way of thinking about it is to imagine a sphere.
Yeah, let's get out from here and let's do the welcome module. I think that's the easiest one to discuss on, because I want to show you another very interesting thing. Well, at least I believe it's very interesting. And for those of you who maybe, besides playing it as a puzzle game, because yeah, you can close your eyes and play it as a puzzle game, and if you understand the rules, as I said, you don't need the math to do quantum computing. Yeah, that's an X gate. I think everybody knows. It's really obvious. The pictogram itself gives you additional information about what it is. So let's look at this situation here. Oh yeah, okay. Where is superposition? Right. So we start with a qubit in the 0 state. So we start here. We have a single qubit. It's in the 0 state. There is a forced X gate here on the first lot. The ball is the state vector. The ball precisely describes in color, in size, and well, in the array it is going towards, what is the state vector at that particular place in the computation. So in the first row, it's now in the 1 state. Now, if you place a superposition here, we get a split. We will get this. The ball splits in 2, it hits, and we'll have the solution coming up that, congratulations, you have solved the puzzle. All right, so the idea of superposition, right? Because we've just created a superposition. After we flipped, we created a superposition. We also talk about noise. Yeah, so you would not even be able to create that if you would have noise. And what actually noise does, yeah, how the block sphere gets constricted into a single axis if you have noise on the relative phase in the qubits. So we are going really deep into the whole idea of what actually superposition is, why it does the things that we know it does, and why it's that special. There's over 500 quotes that you'll get randomly in the game, and as you progress, you'll get these quotes, which we handpicked. So we are talking quite deeply in this module about that these analogies are incomplete, that there is really hard right now to understand superposition and how it works. And I think this way of seeing it and understanding it through phases and through the actual activity on the visual map, this is the way to really, really come to grasp what superposition does. Have you catch that? So that is phase interference. We have an X and then we have a double H, which H with H gives us identity. This is a unitary transformation. And there we go. We have phase cancellation coming from the -1 state. Yeah. So the first module, the welcome module in the game, also explains stuff like LSB, yeah, why we order bit arrays the way we order them. What does it actually mean? How does a human being should actually understand binary in the LSB convention, in ordering binaries in a way that computers use them today, in the ways we order them when we create an IP, when we send a signal through a router and needs to be read by another machine. So we are explaining that, and of course the content is curated, and I tested it on people who have nothing to do with computation. They have never seen a bit in their lives, so it should really take you from what a bit is to to LSB, complex numbers, how big is a complex number, linear algebra, and all that, you know, diffusion operators and crazy things like that. So yeah, it explains step by step. If we have 2 qubits, what would happen if you place an X gate? Why the visualization does what it does? What does it mean to flip bases? How many? The whole system of the 3 bases we use today in quantum computation, the Z, X, and Y bases, are explained in the game and are referenced according to the mapping of the balls and where they come, because in the game we're measuring the Z bases, but also in the color of the game. You will learn that the color of the game, of the balls and the position of the balls together, once you truly understand it, then you would know exactly that the idea of probability kind of loses its meaning there, because you know in what kind of basis you would be in order to be quite accurate. And if you're not in any basis, then because of how we selected the basis, then only then we have the idea of probability showing up on measurement. Yeah, but having full information, and this game gives you full information, then you would not have to run into measurement problems, given you'd construct algorithms in the visualizer.
As marked by the static port. To achieve this,
yeah, so this tells us to make an entanglement, and we have here a Bell state. So this is, I think, the second or the third Bell state. Wasn't really hard. Yeah, and the game tries always to remind you. I don't know if you've played, if you're a fan of CRPGs, like those very old RPGs, like Planescape Torment or Arcanum, Magica Obscura. Every piece of dialogue, every piece of line that's said in the game is all the words which are used that are the same will always have a little explanation, and the moment you click on them, you'll get the full explanation. Yeah. So, yeah, including the way the colors work, how we've encoded all complex numbers, and how we do with linear algebra, so that you would be able to understand exactly what's going on in the game without actually needing linear algebra. Yeah, so if you would disregard this X, this is the PR paradox posed by Einstein, which said that, well, if you put the first qubit in superposition and then send it well, to Mars, and if you would be able to communicate measurement bases, because quantum entanglement does not send information. That's another big misconception in popular science and in many places. Entanglement does not send information. You always need an information channel in order to send information. Quantum entanglement is just a phenomenon. It's just a resource of the universe you can measure, and you can deduce things really fast by using this resource, and if the quantum particles are prepared accordingly. So we are going to the history, really deep into the game, and discussing even the theory of everything, discussing what it would take to actually bring gravity into quantum computation. To some point, yeah, we don't go really deep into that. We kind of stick on the algorithm aspect, on how you could construct quantum algorithms. So that's the biggest part in the game. So by the end of the game, that's what we hope you can do. Just in chapter 3, the last module, actually, I worked on it for a month, and I couldn't find any proper quantum algorithm that could encode and successfully bring to the Z basis all the problems that I defined in the encyclopedia. So if we can find independent set, so I defined here a bunch of problems that you will learn how to actually encode on a quantum computer. So these are graph theory problems. It's like, imagine a bunch of computers connected by cables. There are some rules that have to be followed. And we are teaching you exactly how to take this problem, this mathematical problem or real world problem, and put it on a quantum machine and read it out and find the answers to it. Yeah, so we don't just teach like, yeah, right, this is how quantum works and so on, but we actually teach, right, how would you go as a PhD researcher to look at the real world problem and try to map it on a quantum computer? How is the process? How you should be thinking about it? What level of patience you should have? We even talk about some kind of philosophical implications in trying and exhaustively trying all the possibilities and how to have informed guesses into doing it well. And yeah, you know, and we actually ask at the end of the 3rd chapter if anybody out there is actually able to take all these cases, all these problems, and find an algorithm on our full quantum simulator that we give together with the software, which is free. You don't have to buy the learning modules to play with the software, of course. And if you can find this algorithm, let us know. We might actually maybe publish something interesting out of it. Yeah, so that's a real problem we push forward. If any of you guys are able to find a way to bring to the Z basis, and the module does a good job at explaining exactly what I'm trying to say here, because without the background, it's quite hard to communicate this. If anybody can do it, let us know, and yeah, let's write an interesting paper together. Yeah, so we are saying here quite clearly, this profoundly beautiful, extraordinarily important field of science deserves better than to be locked away in deep layers of mathematics and physics. And this is exactly why we managed to raise over 150,000 euros and create the game you see in front of you. Yeah, to bring quantum computation from this extreme layer of abstraction to something like playing Tetris or Match 3 and 1. And by doing it, there is no loss of information. You have exactly the equivalent of what maths can offer. Just that, well, maths is more scalable. That would be the only limitation. Yeah, so the idea of giving you the tools, the hacker tools, so that you can develop quantum intuition, which is a concept that we are explaining it really deep into in the game. Yeah, you will achieve this quantum intuition, and then you can look at any science paper, you can look at any IBM device, Honeywell device, or whatever, because everything we do in the game can just be ported on a gate model quantum hardware. So it's fully compatible. And you'll be able to immediately play straight with the quantum computer. And yeah, what we really hope is that you can become one of our great visual thinkers. And I think the world today really needs one in quantum computing. So we really need someone who can start having some thought experiments about doing something really crazy using even the early hardware we have today. Hopefully, and usually people who have nothing to do, they're not physicists, are the ones who actually know the problem domain. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to expect from a physicist to discover a way to do protein folding on a quantum computer. Don't you agree? And of course, we discussed even these great visual thinkers, how they went doing visual thinking. So from Feynman diagrams to actually really funny stuff like Feynman's sticky bed. Yeah, how you would actually have a thought experiment and imagine that gravity has to be a particle. Why it's not just a force, why it has to be a particle. So, as I said, the game goes really deep into visual thinking. The idea behind the game is not first and foremost to really learn quantum computing, but to develop this kind of way of thinking about problems that is visual, that can happen in your head, that can happen without a pen and paper, that can happen on a train when you travel or whatever. So yeah, like lately when I'm discussing with my PhD supervisor about quantum computing and algorithms, I'm not even writing the math. I'm just putting these gates in my head, and I kind of know, sometimes I do mistakes, but quite rarely, exactly what's gonna be the output, yeah, without too much thinking. So that's a good quantum intuition to have. And if now that I actually finished the tool, now I have more time to play with it. So at least there is one customer, yeah, that's gonna put the hundreds of hours, which I hope that will be put by as many people as possible to master this tool, because it's a visual art. It's kind of like a form of expressing quantum computation, mathematics, Every element you see here, including these gates, if you spend some time observing them, you'll understand that absolutely every little thing about them is mathematically correct. So this is literally looking at the properties of the gate models used in quantum computation. You know if they are bipartite and if they are unitary, then you would understand how we actually build every little piece in the game. Right. I don't know how we're sitting on time because I'm.
We still have some time, and
Okay, cool.
I have questions prepared, and there are some questions on the comments.
Okay, let me show one more thing, and then we can jump straight into questions. I hope there are quite a few questions, and I talk quite fast, so I think there's gonna be time to answer. The editor, guys, any gate you would ever want in quantum computation, we can create it in the game. Let me just create a gate using, I don't know, some random stuff, including some entanglement. And let's do it on many qubits. Yeah? Test gate. So this kind of stuff is called gate compilation. Look at the output here. And now I will place test gate. Bam, we are back in the 0 state. Everything you see above is perfectly equivalent with what you see below. Just that this is a single gate, which combines all the information from all the gates. No matter how many gates you have, the beauty about quantum computing and the laws of the universe is that they are fully reversible. So any kind of quantum phenomena that's happening and hasn't been measured, yeah, we still have to explain what measurement actually does, is fully reversible. So ideas like reversing the arrow of time is actually discussed in chapter 3, module 1. If there are some particles, a little universe where the particles are prepared in a certain way, and that way in which it's prepared is hidden in a custom gate, in a gate like I just created here, are you able visually to find the right transformations that can reverse the arrow of time in this little pocket universe? Can you bring all those qubits, like in this case, 4 qubits, back to the ground state that they were before the transformations, before, I don't know, entropy played into that pocket universe and things became the way they were? Maybe, okay, so like I said, I think besides that, we have some videos out there with what does it mean to flip a coin, right? I mean, let's imagine classical probability. You have this thing here, which, yeah, you flip a coin, right? So you start from heads or tails. Let's say 0 is tails. You have the coin, it's a full coin, and then you flip it. We encode this into a H gate. Yeah, you get 50-50 outcome of 0 and 1. Oh, we show this pre-measurement. By 2 balls, they're equally sized. Now, if we flip it before we do that, absolutely nothing changes, right? This is classical probability. We lose the information behind what happened before the event, which was random. Yeah, we get the same balls. And that's the beauty of quantum. The H gate, the Haderman gate, the superposition, the Schrödinger cat gate, however you want to call it, preserves information. You see? Preserves information which can later be used at what I believe is the most important thing, which is never acknowledged in literature, in popular science, in movies. You always see superposition, but you never see what happens after you collapse the superposition. Yeah, quantum interference. And quantum interference can happen. I don't know if you guys saw the Rick and Morty episode when he became unsure on some elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had lots of interference afterwards, collapsing all those universe of uncertainties. I don't know if you guys are Everettians or David Bohms or whatnot, but yeah, I mean, it's quite beautiful to observe interference and do cool things with it. Oh yeah, before we go into questions, let me quickly also show you Grover, because that's also something fascinating, right? So, you know, from popular science and, well, generally any kind of quantum literature, they always talk about Grover and doing phase amplification, phase cancellation, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of math involved. And I think I spent like a year and I wrote a paper on it, which got published, into making Grover a bit better. And it took me too long to understand Grover. and how simple it is. So what's the idea of Grover? Let's say you're looking for an item. Let's say we are looking for 1-1. We have, we start with all possible items. So on 2 qubits, we have 4 possible cards. Let's say we are looking for an ace. The ace is hidden, and let's hide it into the 4th slot. So this is the 1st slot, 2nd slot, 3rd slot, 4th slot. We start with all possibilities being equally likely, and we hit the ace into the 4th slot, as you can see here. And now, let's create the diffusion operator from Grover Search. I'll do my version. This is my favorite because it's compact and it's scalable, so you can do this thing on 1,000,000 qubits and it will still look the same. You just add more H's, more X's, and Control Z's. Yeah, and check it out. So the idea is that the oracle hides this information into the face. You, as being a physicist or whoever, somebody who reads what the quantum computer outputs, it will output always 25% 00, 25% 01, 25% 10, 25% 11. You wouldn't know the face. That's the thing. You don't know the face. The oracle hid the information in the face. And then we have the first part of the diffusion operator, which you can see already what it does. So quantum interference starts to affect the phases in a way in which it's called the Grover way, yeah? In which you'll actually get the split, which is reversed, and then it's equalized on the other side. And then the last bit, maybe we didn't catch it. Wow, okay. So let's do it again. Okay, so if you observe here what happens at the end, you'll have phase cancellation on all the qubits except the one that has been amplified with this phase from the start where we hit our ace. So this would collapse all the positions except the one where the ace was hidden, and it would return into our real world in the Z basis where the game is reading info out, or where a quantum computer today is reading info out, just a single probability. So in a single step, on 2 qubits, we managed to find the ace in a single try. It's not the same on more qubits. So on 3 qubits, you'll have a probability distribution. You'll still see errors on all the other. Okay, let's see if I can do it quick. On all the other bit strings, you'll get a bunch of errors. And now, now we're looking for, yeah, still a single ace because I didn't write. So now we're looking for 2 cards. Imagine on 8 qubit, on 8, if you have a deck of 8 cards, if we're looking for 2 aces, we get the answer perfect. Yeah, we don't have any errors. And that's something which I observed visually. I haven't seen it anywhere in literature. If you're looking for 2, so if it's a multiplier, you'll always get with 100% certainty. The moment you're looking for a single card or 3 cards or 4 cards, you'll get errors. So it's no longer a certain answer. Grover does not bring you with certainty the answer back into the Z basis. It brings you with a little bit of error. Yeah, their colors are the complex numbers. So every real part and imaginary part is fully encoded on a state vector. The entire state vector is perfectly defined into the game. The transformations are easy to understand and easy to become familiar with. And you can do lots of quantum computing magic with it. So if you start playing with it, join our Discord, let me know, and let's revolutionize quantum computation together. Yeah, that's my dream.
Thank you, Lars. I mean, it's a really good game, and thank you for the presentation. And should I remove your screen? Oh yeah, no, it can stay. So let's continue with the questions. And one of the questions is actually, when will it be released? And there were 2 editions from the comments, like when will it be released on Mac OS and the Linux versions.
We put a lot of effort into making it very high quality, and that means shaders, that means special effects, particle physics, and so on. And it's really painful that Linux doesn't have the support we wanted, and it looks kind of crappy, but it does work on Linux. We'll try to release in maybe March, if we're lucky with production, a version for Linux, which we are happy with. And for Macintosh, we'll try maybe April or May. So far, it only works on Windows. So if you have any kind of VM, any kind of virtual machine, I think it shouldn't be a big deal to play it. I mean, if you like quantum computation, Windows is the place to go. There are so many weird things available on Windows, and I would strongly recommend trying it on Windows first. Yeah, in March, May, that period, if things go well.
I mean, it's planned, right? It's not. It's going to be in those systems as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll try even on Xbox. Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah, on Android also, unfortunately, because it fully simulates quantum computing up to 12 decimals and does floating point adjustments, of course. On an Android phone, we'll try to maybe have something up to 2 qubits. We'll try to have a version out, but it won't be as good. It can't be. I mean, that's another thing we do on Windows, like the way we calculate the matrices and make sure the presentation is 100% fidelity up to 12 decimals is that we parallelized the processing of the matrices to use all the computational power your computer has in the background.
So one of the other questions was from the forms that we collected. Are the algorithms behind these simulations classical? So the question is, I think, referring to the game. Is it always doing some classical simulations of the quantum system, or is there something else going on?
That's a funny question. Well, okay, maybe to answer it in a different way, the quantum computer is a perfect Turing machine. So any kind of classical simulation you can perfectly simulate in the visualizer. So it doesn't just teach quantum computing, it teaches classical computing. So the first modules in the game actually teach you everything about classical computing to then go towards superposition, entanglement, and interference, and cool things you can do like Bell states, W states, GAZ states. There is nothing quantum in the game except everything that's quantum in the form of the math we know. It doesn't, the moment you install this software, it doesn't come with a USB stick where maybe, I don't know, we have a delusion refrigerator and we have some quantum particles. So, not the case because the technology is not there yet, guys. Yeah, but we had some discussions with IBM. Maybe that's also a possibility to connect it directly, even bypassing QSKit, like have a direct connection to some IBM Q server, and what you run in the game, you get the responses also from the IBM device, which will be having errors. Yeah, the game is 100% showing everything with fidelity, what a quantum computer can do.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I think that was the point that who was asking the question, whether it can actually work on quantum devices. But I mean, in this form, as you defined, it's noise-free, and if it's noise-free, it cannot actually run on the actual device. So one other question was, do you think that quantum computing can create a new perspective or find a new place in the gaming world? So instead of teaching quantum computing through games, can this kind of quantum computing be allowing new type of games for gaming, not the other way around?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tetris is also about mathematics. Yeah, it was made by a mathematician showing some beautiful properties of blocks and forms you could do with blocks. The game we've made, it's kind of like a match 3-in-1 combined with Tetris, combined with, I don't know, something else. And it is a puzzle game. You can play this game just for the puzzles of it. And what I haven't showed you yet, and I don't think I'll have the time to show it, is that actually we track score, we give you points, we give you little qubits, and we track scores. And so we'll have leaderboards, online rankings, competitions, because there's so much you can do. And when it comes to quantum games, I think there are already people doing really cool things. I know there's a FPS coming out, or maybe it did already, Quantum Leap or something like that, where you shoot people. And yeah, it's the standard kind of game about, yeah. And you can be and not be at the same time. So any game which has some quantum property, I guess that's a video game that is quantum based. Yeah, but I don't think that you can actually do a video game that does everything. That's why we're limited to showing these balls, and we can't do cats and dogs and other things because of the funny properties balls have and the way we can scale them, and we can do some really cool things with them, like have a ball inside the ball with different properties and so on. it's hard for me to imagine you could do a game which has all the quantum properties like our game has. And yeah.
So I think this is connected to the next question, and it is basically, where do you see the limits? The most weird thing that can be done combining the quantum world and gaming. I'm probably in next 5 years, 10 years. Where can we go at most?
Yeah, my dream is that this game picks off, that people start playing this game seriously and not just looking for like a little fun, but they actually come in the game, not really just looking to have fun, which is hopefully something the game can give you, but they actually come here to learn and master, and not just learn, but like kind of League of Legends learn, like learn to be a challenger kind of level of a player in the game, like be the best in the game, be really good at this game. And then we can have speed runs. Like we can, for example, what IBM published about finding a way to do a swap gate bear. That would have been cool if we could have the game released on time and participate with that, with people of the community that actually knows the game. Crazy things might have happened.
Yeah, they are promising $100,000, right?
Yeah, I know. Hopefully bigger prizes will come, and hopefully us, Quarks Interactive, will also have the finances to achieve that, and hopefully we'll have partnerships with companies that are looking a better way to do, I don't know, nitrogen fixation, and maybe we can cluster it in like 5 qubit sized little algorithms that by solving these and optimizing these together they can actually solve a problem like fixing nitrogen or whatever.
I think we have like 5 minutes and 2 questions. One question is, will there be different languages like French, Turkish, German? And the other question is, so it's about NPCs in games. So they don't have that randomness. They have to be pre-ordered to do lots of things. So can something like quantum programming help regular games? Introduce a little bit randomness, but I don't think we need quantum random number generators for that. But like quantum inspired algorithms, can there be quantum inspired games that are entirely classical but be inspired from certain elements of quantum?
I think us humans really hate randomness, and I think true randomness is something we hate the most, to be honest. I remember watching a GDC talk about how they made Civilization 5, and they tested the game, and the game had a 50-50 chance that when you have a random encounter and it's on the same level with your army, there is a 50-50 outcome. Either you lose or you die. And everybody complained that that's unfair. Everybody said it's unfair. Although you can see the numbers in front of you, nobody liked it. And they had to swap it. And they still say 50-50 today if you play the game. But actually, it's 66% chance you can win. And that's fair.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fair if it is in our advantage.
Always, yeah. Yeah, and that's what we do in the game. I don't think it's fair to call superposition, random 0 and 1 at the same time. No, it's just a different basis. Yeah. Let's look at things deeper. There's gotta be some deterministic thing going on there. And it is. It turns out there could be. And it depends on measurement basis, how we select the measurement and stuff. It's in the game. All of it's in the game.
So I have 2 questions. So
sure.
One is, do you have any transpilers for these games? So for example, I created a gate which has some redundancies. Can anything in the game weed them out if they add up to an identity?
No, it doesn't have to be perfectly bipartite and unitary. So we express the full linear algebra. The lasers are not a perfect match. So the state vector is a perfect match. Yeah, so the length of the lasers doesn't really change if the numbers are smaller in the matrix. So we patented this really weird way of reading a matrix by reading its properties and then displaying it on the computer screen. I think that's something you can discover in the game. Yeah, any kind of gate you can represent. The mapping to binary arrays is perfect, but the full representation of the numbers within the matrix of each unit in the matrix of each slot, like MIJ, that particular slot, is not perfect. Yeah, it's a bit, the numbers, I mean, you can see the numbers. We have a math layout, which I didn't show. You can click a button and you can actually see all the numbers, which are creating the visualizations you see in the game. Yeah, but the representation, it will be too ugly if we show it accurately, because, like I said, 12 decimals.
Yeah. And my final question is, are you planning any Twitch runs of the game?
Oh, yeah, we discussed, we were contacted by Daniel from Uncertain Systems. I don't know how he found us. I guess he was friends with James Wooten or something. And he will start doing some Let's Plays on Twitch. I don't think I would be able to. I need to finish a paper. So yeah, we have some results we need to finish writing about, and we need to polish the game. We need to continue working on the content. But we already know for sure Uncertain Systems, and stay tuned for that. They will do some live streaming of playing the game, and they might have some special guests from different fields of science joining in, and together with the community on Twitch or on YouTube streaming, I'm not sure what they will use. You'll be solving puzzles together. Yeah, but again, like, the game is created to be a kind of like sitting in the sauna by yourself and listening to really cool music and just letting quantum come to you, you know? So the game is more of a standalone single player experience more than anything at this point. But yeah, if you prefer that kind of stuff, check out Uncertain Systems. They'll post from maybe next week or in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. So thank you so much for joining us. It was a great presentation, and I hope that people enjoyed the game as much as I do.
Thank you, Zeki. Talk soon.
See you.
See you.
And in 5 minutes, we will have the promised talk with Piotr. Please join the next talk through the link that I've just shared. Thank you for coming.